Silent evolution. The Galactic Federation's central chamber buzzed with the usual administrative chatter. Representatives from 300 advanced civilizations gathered in the massive orbital station that served as the heart of interstellar governance. Species that had mastered faster-than-light travel millennia ago discussed resource allocation, diplomatic missions, and the occasional border dispute with practiced boredom. High Counselor Zix Thraxis, a 12-foot-tall avian being whose ancestors had achieved spaceflight when humans were still painting on cave walls, tapped his ceremonial staff to bring the session to order. His iridescent plumage shifted from deep blue to purple as he addressed the assembly. Before we conclude today's session, there is a minor intelligence report from Sector 8742 requiring brief attention, he announced, his translator converting his melodic whistles into the standard galactic tongue. Director Valine, you have the floor. A slender crystalline being glided to the center of the chamber. Director Valine of the Galactic Intelligence Division was known for her methodical approach and unflappable demeanor. That she seemed unusually tense did not go unnoticed by the more perceptive members of the council. Esteemed counselors, she began, her voice resonating like wind through glass. I bring concerning data regarding anomalous activities in the Outer Rim territories. Over the past solar cycle, we have documented 17 unexplained disappearances of outpost stations, 3 major trading vessels vanishing without distress signals, and most concerning, the complete silence from our monitoring station near the Sol system. At the mention of Sol, a ripple of confused murmurs spread through the chamber. Most species had to access their neural interfaces to even recall which system that was. Sol, questioned Counselor Mreedfall, an ancient amphibious being whose species had been traveling the stars when Earth's continents were still forming. Is that not where the vital carbon-based entities reside? The ones still struggling with rudimentary atomic power and primitive computer systems? Humans, Valine confirmed. Yes, the same. Our records indicate they achieved primitive spaceflight only recently, having only touched their own satellite and sent basic probes to neighboring planets. They were categorized as Development Stage 2.3, with estimated galactic integration timeline of no less than 800 years. Zix Thraxis waved a feathered limb dismissively. Then what relevance does this have to the disappearances? Surely such a primitive species could not be responsible for outposts vanishing across 3 sectors. Valine's crystalline form shimmered with what those familiar with her species recognized as deep concern. That is precisely what requires the Council's attention. Logic dictates no connection should exist. Yet every anomaly traces back along trading routes that terminate near the Sol system, and our surveillance satellites in that region have gone dark one by one. From the back of the chamber, a voice called out. Perhaps it is merely criminal activity. The Draxian pirate factions have been troublesome in that region before. That was our initial hypothesis, Valine responded, until the Draxian pirates themselves began disappearing as well. This statement caused a momentary silence to fall over the chamber. I have dispatched our most advanced stealth vessel, the Whisper of Infinity, to investigate directly, Valine continued. Its quantum cloaking technology should allow observation without detection, even if, against all probability, the humans have somehow advanced beyond our expectations. Counselor Mreedfall leaned forward on his hover platform. This seems an excessive allocation of resources for what is likely a simple technical malfunction or natural phenomenon. The Whisper is one of our most valuable intelligence assets. With respect, Counselor, Valine replied, the pattern defies natural explanation. And if I am wrong, then we have merely been cautious. But if there is even a fraction of a possibility that humanity has somehow evolved beyond our monitoring capabilities, she left the implication hanging in the air. High Counselor Zix Thraxis clicked his beak twice, signaling mild annoyance. Very well. The Council acknowledges your concerns, Director Valine. You may proceed with your investigation, but we expect a full report within 1 orbital cycle. This session is adjourned. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, few gave the matter any further thought. After all, Humans were barely worth noting in the grand cosmic registry, just another primitive species slowly fumbling their way toward the stars. None of them could have imagined that the whisper of infinity would never return. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the observation deck of the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus, gazing at the holographic display of the solar system. At 42, she had spent half her life in the program that only a select few thousand humans even knew existed. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and the sleek, midnight blue uniform she wore bore no insignia or rank markings visible to the naked eye. Those were embedded at the quantum level, readable only by those with the right augmentations. "They've dispatched another vessel," said Admiral Chen, stepping onto the deck behind her. "More advanced than the previous ones. Genuine stealth capabilities this time." Ilara nodded without turning. "They're finally starting to wonder. Took them long enough. Can you blame them?" The Admiral moved beside her, his weathered face reflecting in the polished surface of the deck. "Our official broadcasts still show us arguing about climate change and fighting over fossil fuels. Our space program is publicly celebrating reaching Mars. The greatest deception operation in human history," Ilara said with a slight smile. "How far out is their vessel?" "Just past Neptune's orbit. The quantum mesh detected it 10 minutes ago." Ilara turned to face him. "And the Council has approved the next phase." Admiral Chen handed her a neural chip. "Operation Revelation is green-lit. The President and the Joint Chiefs signed off this morning. The other first contact nations are all in agreement." Taking the chip, Ilara inserted it into the port behind her ear. Information flooded her consciousness. Mission parameters, contingency plans, diplomatic protocols, and the decision tree for possible first contact scenarios. 70 years, she said quietly. 70 years since we recovered that crashed scout ship in Nigeria. Since we learned we weren't alone, and that the galaxy had written us off as insignificant. "Best thing that ever happened to us," Admiral Chen replied. "Their arrogance gave us the greatest advantage possible, being underestimated." Ilara called up another holographic display, this one showing the rapid advancement of human technology over the past 7 decades. What had begun with reverse engineering alien components had evolved into something entirely different. Human innovation had taken concepts from the recovered craft and developed them in directions the original designers had never imagined. While the rest of the galaxy relied on standardized technology that had remained largely unchanged for millennia, humanity had been forced to improvise, adapt, and overcome the limitations of their understanding. The result was technology that worked on principles the galactic community had never explored: quantum entanglement drives that didn't leave traditional FTL signatures, neural interface systems that worked with human consciousness in ways alien minds couldn't replicate, and adaptive defense systems that learned and evolved with each encounter. The Artemis teams have intercepted all 16 of their probes so far, Ilara noted, scrolling through the data. Each one analyzed and added to our understanding of their capabilities. "And their underestimation of ours," the Admiral added. Their latest probes still had scanning technology calibrated to detect radio wave communications and fusion power signatures. "They're looking for technology thousands of years behind what we actually have." Ilara closed the holographic displays with a gesture. "And now they've sent something that might actually detect us, which means it's time. Are you ready for this, Commander? You'll be the first human being to officially represent Earth to the galactic community." She squared her shoulders. "They've been watching us crawl for long enough, Admiral. It's time they saw us stand up and walk." The whisper of infinity glided silently through the void, approaching the unremarkable yellow star and its third planet. Captain Rev Athik felt a sense of tedium as he ordered the ship to maintain its quantum displacement field at maximum. This mission was beneath a vessel of the Whisper's caliber. Investigating a primitive world could have been handled by any routine patrol craft. "Scanning for electromagnetic communications," reported his sensor officer, a 6-limbed Thessalian whose species specialized in data analysis. detecting abundant primitive radio and microwave transmissions consistent with development stage. 2.3 Civilization. Visual observation confirms expected level of industrialization. Orbital presence is minimal. Primitive satellites and a small constructed habitat. Nerev-Athik flicked his sensory tendrils in acknowledgement. Continue approach. Let's get close enough to deploy deep scan probes and be done with this waste of resources. Captain, the navigation officer interjected, her voice carrying a strange inflection. I'm detecting an anomaly in local spacetime approximately 20,000 kilometers ahead. Before Nerev-Athik could respond, the view screen lit up with warnings. Space itself seemed to ripple before them. And suddenly, the emptiness was filled with vessels, dozens of them, surrounding the Whisper in a precise formation. They had appeared from nowhere, with no warning, no warp signatures, nothing that should have been possible. Impossible, whispered the sensor officer. They're not registering on any standard detection band. If I couldn't see them visually, I wouldn't know they were there. The vessels were sleek, with designs unlike anything in the Galactic database. They didn't match the expected aesthetic or technological indicators of human development. They shouldn't exist. Open communications, Nerev-Athik ordered, his professional training taking over despite his shock. All frequencies, all protocols. Before his communications officer could comply, every screen on the Whisper's bridge activated simultaneously. The universal translators integrated into their neural systems activated automatically as a human face appeared, a female with dark hair pulled back tightly, wearing what appeared to be a uniform of some kind. Greetings to the vessel designating itself Whisper of Infinity, the human said, speaking perfect galactic standard. I am Commander Ilara Voss of the Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you. Nerev-Athik felt his primary heart skip a beat. How do you know our ship's designation? That information is classified at the highest levels. The human's expression remained neutral, but there was the slightest hint of what might have been amusement in her eyes. We know many things about the Galactic Federation, Captain Nerev-Athik. We've been listening and learning for quite some time. Impossible, he stated flatly. Your species does not possess the technology to intercept or decode our communications. Perhaps your intelligence on Earth is not as current as you believe, Commander Voss replied. We would like to invite you and a small delegation to our command vessel for a proper introduction. It's time we had an honest conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy. Nerev-Athik's mind raced. Nothing about this situation followed any predictable model of first contact with a Stage 2 civilization. The humans shouldn't have these ships. They shouldn't know who he was. They shouldn't even know about the Federation. And if I decline your invitation, he asked cautiously. Commander Voss maintained her professional demeanor. Then you are free to return to Federation space and report what you've seen. We have no intention of detaining you against your will. But I believe your superiors would be very interested in what we have to share. The captain looked around at his bridge crew, seeing his own shock and confusion mirrored in their expressions. Procedure dictated immediate retreat and report when encountering unknown technology or capabilities. But something told him that this encounter was precisely why he had been sent. Very well, Commander Voss. I will accept your invitation, along with my senior officers. As the transmission ended, his executive officer moved closer. Captain, this defies all our intelligence on human capabilities. How could we have been so wrong? Nerev-Athik watched as a small craft detached from one of the human vessels and approached the Whisper. I don't know, he admitted, but I suspect we're about to find out exactly what else we've been wrong about. The Reckoning. The Galactic Federation's emergency session had lasted for 3 consecutive cycles without break. The Whisper of Infinity's return, along with the data it brought back, had thrown the entire governing body into chaos. High Counselor Zix Thraxis had not left the central chamber once, his plumage now a dull gray from stress and exhaustion. This report cannot be accurate, insisted Counselor Mreed Fall, pounding his webbed appendage against the hovering data display. No species advances from primitive atomic power to quantum entanglement drive technology in less than a millennium. It defies every developmental model we have. Captain Revathik stood firm before the council, his tendrils rigid with conviction. I have provided comprehensive sensor logs, first-hand observations, and the diplomatic communiques delivered by the human representatives. Their technological capabilities are not in question, esteemed counselors. I have seen their vessels, walked their decks, and witnessed demonstrations that confirm everything in my report. Director Veline's crystalline form had taken on a reddish hue, a sign of extreme agitation among her kind. The question isn't whether humans have achieved these advancements, but how. And more importantly, what else they may have developed that they chose not to reveal. The central display activated, showing footage captured from the Whisper's visit to the human command vessel. It showed vast hangar bays housing craft of designs that seemed to defy conventional understanding of propulsion and material science. It showed humans with neural interfaces far more sophisticated than those used by Federation species. It showed weapons systems that the Whisper sensors couldn't even classify properly. They claimed to have achieved these advancements on their own, Revathik continued. But they also acknowledged that the recovery of one of our scout vessels, approximately 70 of their years ago, accelerated their understanding of certain principles. A scout vessel? Zix Thraxis interrupted. We have no record of dispatching scout vessels to Earth in recent centuries. A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications settled in. Someone had been studying Earth without the Federation's knowledge or approval, a serious violation of developmental observation protocols. Regardless of how they acquired this initial technology, Veline said, breaking the tension, what they've done with it is the real concern. They've developed it in ways our scientists believe should be theoretically impossible. Their quantum entanglement drives don't create the subspace distortions our sensors are designed to detect. Their communications use principles that our systems weren't designed to intercept. Because they evolved differently, offered a new voice, a smaller being stepped forward. Professor Lidvex, the Federation's leading xenobiologist. I've reviewed the biological data from the encounter. Humans aren't just technologically different. They're neurologically unique among known sentient species. The professor activated his own display, showing comparative brain scans. Most spacefaring species evolve with similar patterns of logical development. Our neural pathways prioritize consistency, pattern recognition, and methodical problem-solving. Human brains show stronger connections between creative centers and logical functions. They make intuitive leaps, connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. Are you suggesting their brains are superior to ours? Asked an offended counselor from the back of the chamber. Not superior, Lidvex clarified. Different. Where we might spend centuries perfecting a technology along its natural development path, humans might suddenly jump to an entirely different approach because someone made an unexpected connection. It's chaotic, unpredictable, but occasionally produces revolutionary results. Director Veline turned to face the council directly. And that is precisely why they represent an unprecedented situation. Our models cannot predict what they might develop next or how they might use it. The fact that they have concealed their true capabilities from us, while monitoring our activities, is deeply concerning. High Counselor Zix Thraxis raised his staff, silencing the growing murmurs. What exactly are the humans proposing, Captain? You mentioned diplomatic communications. Nerev Athek accessed his neural interface, projecting the official message from Earth. They are requesting formal recognition as a spacefaring civilization and membership in the Galactic Federation. However, they have stipulated conditions. Conditions? Zix Thraxis repeated incredulously, a newly contacted species presuming to set conditions for their inclusion. Yes, Counselor. They insist on maintaining independent military capabilities, unrestricted technological development rights, and immediate access to all historical records regarding past observations of their planet. The chamber erupted into protests and exclamations. No newly integrated species had ever been granted such freedoms. The standard process involved centuries of guided development under Federation oversight. And if we refuse these conditions, asked Counselor Mreethal when the noise had subsided. Nurev Athek hesitated before responding. They made no explicit threats, Counselor. However, Commander Voss informed me that humans have already established outposts in 12 systems beyond their own, including 3 previously unclaimed worlds in resource-rich regions. They have also developed what they term defensive capabilities that they are confident would deter any aggressive action. This is outrageous, Mreethal exclaimed. They explore and claim territories without approval, develop military technology in secret, and now make demands of this council. Before the debate could intensify further, the chamber's security alerts activated. The massive doors slid open, and a delegation of 5 humans entered, led by Commander Ilara Voss. Unlike their previous communications, where she had worn a military uniform, now she was dressed in formal diplomatic attire, a simple but elegant dark suit with subtle blue accents. The council fell silent, many members seeing the human in person for the first time. They were smaller than most Federation species, seemingly fragile, yet they carried themselves with unmistakable confidence. Esteemed members of the Galactic Federation Council, Ilara began, her voice amplified through the chamber systems. I apologize for the unannounced arrival, but we felt a direct conversation would be more productive than continued debate in our absence. High Counselor Zixthraxis rose to his full height, his plumage bristling. How did you bypass our security protocols to arrive here unannounced? This station's location is protected by the highest encryption available. Ilara nodded respectfully. The same way we've learned about your civilization, while you believed us to be primitive, Counselor. By listening, observing, and understanding. We've had years to study your encryption methods. She stepped forward, activating a holographic display of her own that materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a timeline of human development, but with key points highlighted, moments when Federation observation posts had been detected by humans, incidents of unauthorized sample collection from Earth, and even several abduction attempts of human subjects over the centuries. For generations, your civilization has studied ours without our knowledge or consent, Ilara continued. You categorized us, evaluated our potential, and ultimately dismissed us as unremarkable. That was your first mistake. The display shifted to show the crashed scout ship, not a Federation vessel as they had assumed, but one belonging to the Draxian pirates. The timeline continued, showing the rapid advancement of human technology following that discovery. Your second mistake was underestimating human adaptability. When we realized we weren't alone in the universe, we didn't panic or fragment as your models predicted. We united. The nations of Earth formed a secret coalition to advance our technology at an unprecedented rate, while maintaining the appearance of business as usual. Director Veline moved closer to the human delegation. How did you manage to conceal such advancement? Our observation posts should have detected energy signatures, resource consumption patterns, testing of new technologies. One of the humans accompanying Commander Voss, an older man with silver hair and keen eyes, stepped forward. Director Veline, I presume. I'm Dr. Harrison Chen, Chief Scientist of the Earth Defense Force. The answer to your question is simple. We learned to mask our signatures specifically to avoid your detection methods. He manipulated the holographic display to show a complex diagram of energy redistribution systems. Once we understood what your sensors were calibrated to detect, we developed our infrastructure to work differently. Our quantum technology produces different signatures than your models expect. Our manufacturing processes were redesigned to appear consistent with your expectations of our development stage. A deception on a planetary scale, murmured Zixthraxis. For what purpose? Survival, Ilara stated simply. Your historical records, which we've accessed, show that species deemed potentially disruptive are often subjected to development restrictions, technology embargoes, or worse. We've observed how the Federation handles anomalous civilizations. We chose to develop on our own terms before revealing ourselves. A tense silence fell over the chamber as the council members processed this information. The humans had not only achieved technological parity with Federation standards, they had done so while under observation, without detection, and in a fraction of the expected time. "And now," asked Councillor Mrithal, "you reveal yourselves with military capabilities and territorial claims already established. This presents a deeply concerning precedent." Ilara's expression remained diplomatic but firm. "Now we offer partnership, not submission. Humanity does not wish for conflict. We've had enough of that in our own history. But we will not surrender our independence or our right to self-determination." She gestured, and the holographic display changed again, showing scientific and technological advancements that caused even the most composed council members to react with surprise. Medical technologies that could regenerate entire organ systems, energy production methods with efficiency ratings that defied current Federation standards, manufacturing processes that created materials with properties considered theoretically impossible. These are just some of the advancements we're prepared to share openly with the Federation, Ilara continued, not as tribute or as a plea for acceptance, but as our contribution to a community of equals. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "Your civilizations have been stagnant for millennia. We've reviewed your technological development curves. Most Federation species haven't made significant advancements in key areas for over 2,000 years. You've been perfecting the same technologies rather than exploring new ones. Because those technologies are proven reliable," countered a counselor from the scientific division. "Stability ensures safety across hundreds of species and thousands of worlds. And stability breeds complacency," Chen replied. "The galaxy is vast, and the Federation controls only a fraction of it. What other threats might be developing beyond your borders while you rest on technological laurels?" High Counselor Zixtraxis tapped his staff again, bringing order to the increasingly heated exchange. "You speak of partnership, Commander Voss, yet you come to us having already established military outposts and technologies developed in secret. How can we trust your intentions are as peaceful as you claim?" Ilara met his gaze steadily. "Trust must be earned on both sides, Counselor. Your civilization has been observing and judging mine without our knowledge for centuries. Now we stand before you, choosing dialogue over isolation. We could have continued our development in secret for decades more, but we believe the time for openness has come." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Humanity offers the Federation something it desperately needs, but doesn't realize. Innovation, new perspectives, different approaches to challenges that have remained unsolved for generations. In exchange, we ask only for the respect afforded to equals and the freedom to continue our unique developmental path." The council chamber fell silent as her words hung in the air. The Federation representatives exchanged glances, neural communications passing between them too rapidly for the human delegation to intercept. Finally, High Counselor Zixtraxis spoke. "This council must deliberate on your proposal, Commander Voss. The integration of a new species is never taken lightly, and your case is unprecedented in our history." Ilara nodded. "We understand. We will await your decision." As she turned to leave with her delegation, she added, "But remember, Counselor, humanity has already joined the galactic community. The only question is whether the Federation wishes to be part of that relationship." As the humans departed, leaving the council in stunned silence, Director Veline approached Zixtraxis privately. "They've changed everything," she said quietly. "The galaxy will never be the same." The High Counselor's plumage shifted to a deep purple, a color of profound thought among his kind. "No," he agreed. "And perhaps that is precisely what we needed, though none of us realized it until now." Outside the chamber, aboard the human vessel Prometheus in orbit around the Federation headquarters, Commander Ilara Voss stood at her familiar observation deck. Admiral Chen joined her, both watching as the massive space station gleamed against the backdrop of stars. "They're afraid of us," Chen noted. "Yes," Ilara agreed, "but they're also intrigued. They've been the dominant force in this region of space for so long that they've forgotten what it's like to truly evolve, to be challenged. Do you think they'll accept our terms? Ilara smiled slightly. They don't have much choice. We've already established ourselves as a power they can't simply dismiss or control. But more importantly, I think they're beginning to see the potential benefits. The Federation has been stagnant for millennia. Humanity might be exactly the catalyst they need. Chen nodded thoughtfully. No one watched Earth grow until it was too late to stop us. Now they have no choice but to accept us as we are. Not as conquerors, Ilara corrected, but as equals. As innovators. As the species that reminds the galaxy what it means to look at the stars and still feel wonder. Together, they watched as lights flickered across the Federation station. Communications and deliberations that would ultimately reshape the relationship between Earth and the stars. Humanity had emerged from its cosmic cradle not with a hesitant step, but with a confident stride that had caught the galaxy completely unprepared. And the universe would never be the same again.